Well, we have been looking forward to this segment. Are you always saying no to people who are genuinely trying to help you? Or maybe you overextend yourself and do everything to your own detriment?
If this sounds familiar, then you might be hyper independent. Psychiatrist Dr. Soumya Dave joins us now to talk more about this. So what is hyper-independence and what is it that can trigger it for some folks?
So hyper-independence is a stress response that makes people believe that it is safer to not ask for help or support from others, that they don't deserve to ask for that help or support from others. And people who are raised in a stressful or chaotic environment may have developed this idea that this is what safety comes from, is from only relying on themselves. So we can see examples of people who don't ask for help, who don't delegate, take on a lot at work, maybe have a hard time being vulnerable and forming those deep connections with other people.
And just because you are doing it all yourself doesn't mean you're doing a great job at it, I imagine. Talk to us about the difference between being healthy and independent, like a healthy independence, versus being hyper independent.
So I like to think of an independent person as someone who knows they can rely on themselves, they can get the things done that they want, and they know when it's time to ask for that support and reach out to other people. A hyper-independent person, on the other hand, they do everything for themselves and they don't ask for that support, even at the detriment of their own health and well-being. So really that difference between asking for help and getting that support.
So if someone is listening to this right now and they're thinking, oh my goodness, I think that might be me, what's your best advice you have for people who maybe want to stop being so hyper-independent?
So there are therapies that can help. There's one type called trauma-informed cognitive behavioral therapy, and it looks at thought patterns related to traumatic events. There's also something else called EMDR, which uses eye movements and sensations and sounds to process traumatic memories. There's also the practice of interdependence. We were just talking about this. We need each other, right? And it's mutually beneficial when we rely on one another. So asking someone to help you run an errand or listen to how your day went. So starting in what might feel like lower stakes situations and working your way up. And then, of course, practicing self-care and self-compassion, because a lot of people with hyper-independence are carrying a lot and they deserve to also feel restored, know that they don't need to feel burned out. There is another way, and they're worthy of having that compassion for themselves.
Because they often feel like they shouldn't take time to take care of themselves, right?
Absolutely. They don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. So that unworthiness is a really big thing to explore.
If you recognize this in someone you care about, a friend, a family member, what are ways that you can offer to help them take those small steps of helping them out with the errand or whatever, and actually get a yes where they will accept your help?
Such a great question, and I think that the research is now showing more and more that the quality of our social relationships directly affects the quality of our well-being and in our health. So showing up for someone and just asking, how can I best support you, is so powerful, goes such a long way. Showing them that you can be vulnerable with them and the space between the two of you is a safe one. It's one to build trust, and it's one where they can also maybe open up to you at some point. And then, of course, asking if they need help talking to someone. So can you help them go to that therapy appointment? Can you go with them to the appointment and see what comes of that?
And when you talk about some of the traumas that people may have experienced that are behind this, those can be big or small, right?
Absolutely. So people who are parentified children, which is a term we use to describe children who have parent-type or adult-type roles that
Parentified children.
Parentified children. So they're given adult responsibilities that are beyond the scope of the age they're at. Those people might end up having hyper-independence as adults. People with chaos, abuse, emotional neglect, or physical neglect in the home might also develop that core belief that it's safer if I rely on myself. And of course, people who are in a household or community where independence is prized, right? Where people say, it's all in, it's all about you, and that's how you rely on things and get them done. That also informs our core beliefs. So this can come from many different places.
Can it come from a cultural place, or is it different in men and women?
So I think that culturally and community-wise, if we look at even the United States, right, there's a lot of independence, right, that we talk about. We're an independent-oriented community and society, and so that has to play some sort of role. And right now, in men and women, it's showing that it leads to loneliness, social isolation, and feelings of being down in both. And so we don't really know differences just yet.
We learned so much about hyper-independence. Psychiatrist Dr. Soumya Dave. Thank you so much, Dr. Dave.